Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, chaps and chapettes. Hope you're all doing very well. And thank you for joining me again on another episode of the Guitar Geeks Podcast. If you're watching it for the first time, welcome. My name is Josh. And if you're a returning guest, thank you for tuning in once again. If you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you check out the video one on YouTube. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you check it out on Spotify. So, my guest today is somebody I've known for nearly 10 years now throughout the tribute scene, and he's one hell of a guitarist, bringing out banging, jumping riffs, and absolutely one hell of a handsome devil. Ad Lucas, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, good to see you.
Likewise, my friend, likewise. Fresh from a lovely walk out in the countryside, I believe.
Yeah, man. One of the many lockdown walks.
I know. I think that's how we're all sort of surviving at the moment, going for walks and riffing. So for those of you who are not aware, who are you and what are you doing?
So right now I'm not doing that much apart from practicing guitar a lot and hoping for a gig back soon. But yeah, I play in a couple of bands at the moment, tribute bands to Marilyn Manson and Korn. One of them being Korn again, the other one being Spouky Kids. And I also fill in for a lot of bands on the tribute scene as well, such as our bros in Stiff Bizkit and our bros in Hybrid Theory, Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit tributes.
So tribute scene is where we kind of met all them years ago. Seems like a fucking lifetime away now. I've got Paul. I've got Paul on tomorrow from Stiff Bizkit. I mean, I don't think he's doing Stiff Bizkit now, but yeah, Paul's on tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Oh, badass! I'll tune into that.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good. So we'll kind of start how I start every interview. So, how did music and guitar become a big part of your life when you was growing up? What was that moment where you went, I want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it all started when I was a kid, and you know, my dad had a great collection of music. He'd be playing us AC/DC, Frank Zappa, you know, all sorts of stuff that wasn't on the radio at the time. So that kind of woke me up to all, you know, guitar music. And once I started, you know, going to school and realizing I wasn't very good at football and stuff like that, I was thinking, how am I going, you know, what's my thing? How am I going to stand out? So, yeah, I remember seeing Papa Roach on Kerrang, and the bassist spun his bass around, and I was like, man, that's what I want to do. So, yeah, it all started there. Just said to my dad, can I have a bass? And he was like, what you want to do is learn guitar first. Guitarists can play bass once they've learned. So, you know, that old chestnut. So yeah, it got me a guitar and started learning all the new metal, Papa Roach, Slipknot, all of that.
So the new metal scene was kind of like one of the big influences.
Oh, big time, man. Like as soon as Kerrang TV came out, man, I was just like, what is this? I remember watching it in the mornings, you know, before getting on the school bus, Scores, all of that, you know. And yeah, thinking, God, those guys look cool. What I want to do is get a guitar and get a load of tattoos.
But you ticked off both of the boxes now.
And look at me now.
So if I recall rightly, one of the big influences for you was Wes Borland. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, it was one of those bands where they mixed all that, you know, the heavy riffs, low tuned riffs, clean delayed guitar. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, man, that's different, you know. And I had to find out what he was doing, get all the pedals and, you know, figure it all out.
You're definitely like me then. You're one of the gear nerds and the gear horses, we like to be called.
Oh, big time, man, big time. I remember like early on Googling or, you know, trying to find out what they were using to make those sounds, you know, or look at, I've got stacks and stacks of Guitar World magazine, Guitar Player, all of that. And I used to flick through and just try and spot what gear they were using in the pictures, you know, like live shots. I'd be like, what is that on his board, you know?
At least I'm not the only one that does that. I am that guy at shows, and I'm like, what you got there? What are you using?
One little blue pedal, you know. Yeah, go on the Boss website and try and find what the blue one is, you know, get that.
So kind of when you started growing up, can you remember what that first guitar and that first amp was? You know, was it like one of the Encore Strats or?
You know what, man? It was an Encore Strat. Yeah,
You're the
I've still got
person to say that.
I've still got it, man. It's an Encore Strat, and I got it on a Wednesday, which is also when Kerrang magazine came out. And Kerrang magazine had released this like sticker pack that had stickers of like, you know, all them bands, Slipknot and Mushroom Head and whatever else. And the guitar is just covered in stickers, you know, of all them new metal bands. You know, I've still got it. It's in my loft. It's probably disgusting now, but yeah, it's still up there.
I really, like, I've never owned a proper Strat. I mean, like, I had a Richie Sambora one for a while, but I've never gone down the proper single coil Strat route. Thing is, I could not imagine you playing a Strat. My first was this shitty little like Argos 50 quid bundle pack. Like the guitar must have cost like 10 quid to build in some factory in China. It was horrendous. And that I remember the amp. I think the amp is, I either chucked it or it's in my loft. I can't remember, but it's like this little fucking 4-inch thing, and all it had was like a gain knob and a volume knob. It was just horrendous.
Yeah. Mine was very similar. It was like the Encore starter pack with, it had this little amp custom with a K.
Yeah.
This little custom amp, you know, with a distortion button that you press and it just went really tinny and shrill, you know. I think the moment that changed my life was like the first effects pedal, you know, the first multi-effects I got. I remember getting it was a Zoom GFX 707.
You went down the Zoom route. I had one of the Digitech ones.
Oh, you pimp. What was that one? Was that like the little blue and silver one?
No, I think it was an RP90. It had like 2 buttons and like this really flimsy like expression pedal, and it was just awful.
Yeah, but once you play through one of them for the first time, you think you're a rock star.
Yeah, I did. I was like, oh my God, like the tone I have at my feet. And I look back and I'm just thinking, oh God, what was I doing?
Oh man. Yeah, I remember there was a setting on the Zoom GFX called Jet, and it was like this heavily distorted with flanger. And I was there just playing like Tear Away by Drowning Pool. Like, oh my God, it sounds just like it, you know.
There's always like there's 2 kinds of people. You either had a rolling cube or a line 6 Spider, and you also had either a Zoom or a Digitech. You would either have one of those.
I never got the Spider. I think after the custom amp, I ended up getting one of them. You know, I think it was called a Marshall. It's some sort of like MD. Is it like Marshall MDFX or something?
MFD or MDF or whatever it's called. I know MDF is wood. Yeah, I know the one John about, like the solid state, like mini, like head things. Yeah. It was just like this multi-effects 2x12 combo, you know, and got one of those bad boys, and then I upgraded to a Boss GT. I think it was a GT6. Which was like a multi-effects pedal that was like this big, you know. And at that point, I thought I'd made it, you know. before the world of tone.
yeah, I was like, that's it. Now this is all I need. I'm set. This is what the real guys use.
So you've kind of been a part of a lot of bands. I've seen you obviously with Death Blooms as kind of like one of the ones that really started to gain head steam, but you was also, I don't think you know, I know this, but was it multi-purpose chemical?
Multi-purpose chemical, yeah, man.
Yeah, because that was, I'm assuming that was going back a while, and that's kind of one of your big first bands that started to relatively make quite good progress.
That's correct. Yeah, that was my. I remember when I I first saw them, they were on tour with a band called Willhaven, and they were supporting. I think I was like 19 when I went to see them. And funnily enough, do you remember Giz, who played bass in Death Blooms?
Yeah.
He was guitar for MPC at the time, filling in. And I remember watching him and I was like, man, these guys are so cool. It's all what I'm about, big riffs, new metal influence, a bit System, a bit Rage Against the Machine, that kind of thing. After going to see them, I had to check out their MySpace at the time. And on the MySpace, it said guitarist wanted. And I was like, holy shit, I've got to message these guys, So dropped them a message. They got back to me and they're like, our final audition is tomorrow, which was a Sunday. And I was meant to be in work at the time. So I just called in sick, went down there. And I pretend, they were like, how old are you? I was like, 21. I was 19. And the night before, I thought, right, they've given me 2 songs to learn. I learned the whole album. I was like, right, I'm going to learn the whole album front to back. Just get in there and absolutely ace it. And apparently I was the last guy to audition. Went in there, they were like, what do you know? And I was like, I know them all, man. So played all the songs with them. We all got on really well, and off I went. And then I got a message the next day saying, do you want to play a gig with us in a week's time? And I was like, fuck yeah. I was like 19 and I thought, oh my God, these guys have a video on VH1 and MTV2. I made it.
I'm now officially a rock star.
That's it, man. That's what I thought. And I think around then was the time of the recession, and then no one was going to gigs, and and it was back to square one. But I had a great time in that band. We're all still mates now, and
that was sort of where I guess you started to really catch that bug of playing gigs and being in that band situation. Because to be fair, like when you look at the things that you've done, like there's a lot of people out there that have not done anywhere near as much as sort of what you've done. Obviously playing Download Festival was a big one for you guys. You played with Insane Clown Posse, POD, there's some big names there.
Yeah. I think after Multipurpose Chemical, because that was the band that I joined when I was thinking, oh my God, this is it. When it didn't quite work out, that was it. It was my mission. Then I thought, right, I've got to start a band, do it myself, find the right group of guys. And in between MPC and Death Blooms, there were a couple of other bands that, almost got there, but it just wasn't the right bunch of guys, wasn't the right time or whatever, But once I got Death Blooms together, it seemed to work. It was right place, right time, and they're still thriving now,
The new single, Fuck Everything, is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost you ever so slightly then.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
They've just released a single called Gore. Check that one out, man.
I had that on this morning. I was like, oh, this is proper dirty metal.
It's naughty, isn't it, man?
How come you wanted to sort of move on from Death Blooms with all the success that's going on with them then?
It was one of those things like, I've been in that band for a while, and we just kind of started moving in different directions. And, after a while, it's hard to be in a band with the same people for a very long time and still get along. Yeah. And, it got to that point where there was tensions, disagreements and stuff like that. And it just was better to part ways and, move on with our own things. I'm really enjoying doing the tributes.
Oh, we've lost him again.
Stuff because I was in February, and we recorded a great album, and I'm wishing them luck. It was my send off,
Yeah, when Anger came out, I was just like, that's probably the Anger and Crosses are probably the two best ones in my opinion.
Oh, just you wait, man. There's a lot more to come.
The riffs are just insane. It's because you showed me how to play Anger, and I was just like, man, it's so simple, but it just works so bloody brilliantly. And you can really see
Nice.
the System of a Down, the influences from Korn and Limp Bizkit. They're very heavily influenced in your writing style, I would say.
Yeah, big time. That's exactly what I wanted to get across, man. Like, I love the simplicity of the new metal genre. You know, it's the structures of the songs. You know, it's very verse, chorus, breakdown, that kind of thing. Simple riffs. You know, I've never been into. You know, I appreciate technical playing and all the shreddy stuff, but I've never been into it. It's just I've always been about the riff.
You've always been like, as much as I've known you, you've always been a very tight rhythm orientated sort of player.
Yeah, that's it, man. Just like thrive off that stuff. It's good fun to play, isn't it? As you know, because you do the same.
Definitely, man. So if I recall rightly, I may be wrong in this, but you met Wes Borland, didn't you, at a guitar store?
Oh man, so it was my 25th birthday, funnily enough, and it was on the Black Light Burns tour. So they played Manchester, I think 2 nights before my birthday, and I'd never seen anything like it. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And like, anyone that hasn't seen Black Light Burns, if they ever tour again, go see them, because it's insane, man. So I saw that they were playing a few days later on my birthday in London. So I was like, man, I'm going down to London for my birthday. Let's do this. And on the way down there, he posted on his Instagram that he's doing a Jackson Guitars meet and greet signing kind of thing. So I went down to the Camden Underworld, which is where they were doing the gig and the signing, queued up. I was like one of the last in the queue. And once I'm getting over there to the table where he's like meet and greeting, signing stuff, Wes goes, "Can anyone play Master of Puppets by Metallica?" And I was like, "Me? I can." So he was like, "Okay, come over." So he passed me a guitar, one of his Jacksons, and he was like, "Go on, play." So I started, yeah. Or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm there just like, and he goes, "Awesome, man. Keep the guitar." And I was like, what the fuck?
No way.
Absolutely. I was just like, what?
Childhood ad just completely just lost it.
Yeah. Big time.
That would be like Richard C coming to me going, "Can anybody play, I don't know, Sonna?" And I was like, "Yep, there we go." And
the guitar wasn't even plugged in. I was just there like, I probably wasn't even playing Master of Puppets.
How did it kind of feel meeting somebody that was a massive, obviously, an inspiration for you? Because obviously a lot of people always say, "I never meet your heroes," but I think both of us have had quite good times with that.
Yeah, he was an absolute legend. I mean, I always feel awkward meeting my heroes because in the back of my mind, I'm always just like, oh my God, you kind of like idolize these guys while you're a kid, and then you actually meet them and your head goes completely blank. All the questions, I was like, oh, I'm going to totally ask him what's on his pedal board, and it just goes out the window, doesn't it? But
yeah,
he was a very cool, humble guy, funny dude, great to meet.
Was there anything specific about his writing style that drew you to him? Like, because I think Limp Bizkit got obviously a lot of their recognition when they did WrestleMania 17. Was that like an inspiration, or was it something else that drew you to him?
It's funny, you know what? It was wrestling. So once I started getting into metal music was when, they all had the theme tunes, didn't they? I think it was...
There was Drowning.
Was it
there was
the
a lot of
Undertaker?
Drowning, Paul. There was, obviously, Undertaker had the Limp Bizkit one. There was so much of that new metal, heavy metal scene at that time in the wrestling scene.
That's it. Like, I think the first album that I bought was like a compilation, you know, I think it was WWF All-Star
Anthology.
compilation or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had that.
So I got like, yeah, just like a big wrestling theme tune thing. And then I'd look and find out, oh, this is an actual band, you know, Limp Bizkit Rolling. Look for Limp Bizkit, buy their album. And yeah, so it was through wrestling, funnily enough.
I think that's probably where they got majority of their fan base, was through the wrestling. I mean, that
Yeah.
was when I'd first really properly heard any heavy metal, was when I come across when they did Crack Addict at WrestleMania 19.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was the first time I was like, damn, what's this?
Yeah, yeah. It was funny. That was when Head was on guitar from Korn. Like, it was Head and then Mike Smith from Snot, who later replaced Wes Borland, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's not many. You're only the second person I've ever known to mention Snot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
No
like,
way.
yeah, my best mate Alex. He to be honest, I hadn't heard up until about a year ago, and then obviously he introduced me to them. And you're the only other person I've ever heard bring up their name, because they were like kind of one of the real big founding fathers of the new metal scene, from what I could gather.
Oh yeah, big time. Like all the new metal bands toured with them. You know, they were there from the start, weren't they? I'm sure I went to see. I saw Snot supporting someone, you know, only a few years ago at the Manchester Apollo. I can't remember. Maybe it was Korn. I think it was like the Korn, you know, the anniversary tour of the first album that Korn did. I'm sure Snot was supporting them as well. And
because their singer, was it the singer that passed away? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Singer, wasn't it?
Quite early on in the career.
Because I think they only did the one album in the end, and you can see a lot of the influences, like Corey Taylor is definitely pulled from Snot. It's very evident once you listen to it.
Yeah.
So we'll talk tribute bands, because it's very hard for us, because I think we've both kind of cut our teeth through the tribute band scene. And there is one particular moment that I think you probably know what I'm going to bring up here, was playing in Manchester with Ray Luzier and Fieldy.
Oh yeah, jeez.
So enlighten us.
Okay, so we played on the Saturday. Yeah, so we played on the Saturday at the Ruby Lounge in Manchester, which is no longer there anymore, by the way. I think they've turned into a block of flats now.
We played one of the last gigs there.
Oh, man, it was such a good venue.
I liked it. Apart from loading in and loading out, that was a nightmare.
Yeah, there's not many venues that, that was bad. A scary lift at the back, and all that, you know. Oh man, dodgy, loading in at the bins and everything. So we were playing the Ruby Lounge anyway, and Korn were playing with Limp Bizkit on the Monday at the Manchester MEN. So me being me, I thought, let's just tweet Ray Luzier and, you know, anyone else from Korn, and, you know, spam them the gig poster that we're playing on Saturday night, you know, a few days before their gig. Let's do it on Twitter. Let's do it on Instagram, you know, really flood it, you know. So did that earlier on in the day, thought nothing of it. And we're all in the van on the way to the gig, you know, getting excited about it all. And it pops up on Instagram that, oh, Ray Luzier has liked the gig poster. And, you know, we were overjoyed just from that. We were like, oh my God, you know, some recognition from a member of Korn. This is awesome. So that's it. We're all buzzing and thought nothing else of it. And we're literally on stage about to, I'm filling in for Stiff Bizkit at this gig as well. So I'm on stage with like my Wes Borland makeup on and shit like that. And we're literally just about to go on. And the promoter runs over and he's like, guys, come to the bar quick. Korn and Limp Bizkit want to meet you. And we were like, what? So, so we jump off stage quickly. We're like, is he taking the piss? Like, is he winding us up or something? So we jump off, go over to the bar, and who was there? It was the DJ of Limp Bizkit, the bassist of Limp Bizkit, their road crew, and then Fieldy and Ray Luzier from Korn and their road crew as well. And we were just like, shit, man.
Pressure's on.
The pressure's on now. But yeah, just said hello to them, jumped on stage, played the set with Stiff Biscuit, and the DJ of Limp Bizkit actually was gonna jump up and do some backing vocals for break stuff, but my mic broke, so so unfortunately Stiff didn't get any of the glory. And we got on afterwards, you know, Korn again, and while we were playing, we could see Fieldy and Ray stood at the back videoing the gig, holding the phones up, laughing, smiling, whatever. And then they just pop up halfway through the gig, jump over the barrier, and like, can we play a couple of songs with you guys? So we were like, okay. So yeah, I got to start Here to Stay with Ray. You know, just count me in, Ray. Start. He's one of my favorite drummers as well, man. So I almost fainted on the spot, but yeah, it was great. Played Here to Stay, Freak on a Leash with Ray and Fieldy.
It's not many people can say they've done that.
It's stupid. Like I can't believe we got to do it. And luckily on the night, like Korn had I think, what's his name, Sebastian, the guy that films all the live content and stuff like that. They managed to film it, put a video out, and that kind of kicked Korn again onto another level.
Oh, yeah, I remember just seeing Korn again after that point. They just went straight into just an absolute different league, because they played Grass Pop, and was it Grass Pop?
Yeah.
I think it was. And
yeah,
obviously went to America, and it just absolutely went to another level.
Yeah, it was nuts. Like literally as soon as Korn posted that video, we were getting messages on Facebook from all over the world saying, will you come and play here? And the answer was always yes. We thought, why not? Let's go. Yeah.
It's amazing that, you know, it just takes that one stupid little thing going, oh, let's just tweet, see what happens. That can absolutely take it to another level.
Big time. Just be cheeky and just take those chances. That's the way to do it.
If you could do that again, or do a download festival with Death Blooms again, which one would you rather do?
Oh, that is a tough one. Both of those were a dream come true. That's the hardest question I've ever been asked.
Which one was you more nervous for as well?
You know what? I was most nervous for playing with the Korn guys, because, you know, you don't want to let them down when you're playing in front of them, let alone playing with them. So I was the most nervous for that. And when it comes to Download Festival, just, you know, you're playing your own songs, you know, you're with your best mates up there on stage that you've practiced with. So there was no nerves for Download at all. It was, the only thing we were nervous about was people not turning up. So, you know, the day before, we spent the whole Friday at Download just flyering. You know, we passed out thousands of flyers, and we were playing at midday on the Saturday. You know, usually everyone's hungover lying in the tents, but luckily through the flyering, you couldn't get in the tent. It backed out. We walked out, and we were like, you know, sea of people. It was, you know, it was so good. So
that was lucky. The year, was it with Tool were played on the Sunday? Was it that year?
Yeah, there was, I know that on the, Tool were playing, on our day it was Guns N' Roses and Marilyn Manson. Yeah, it was a good year, man.
Definitely. That's the year I wanted to go, because that Sunday was so proggy. I went to Tosca and Black Peaks and Tool. I was like, man, that's a cracking lineup. So we'll kind of, it's hard to obviously bring up this subject and not sort of talk about it, obviously, with Spooky Kids, and obviously a lot of the controversy that has gone on with Marilyn Manson at the moment.
Yeah.
So has that in a way going to have affected the way that obviously Spooky Kids is being approached or will approach to doing material? Because obviously it can be a very sore subject. Yeah,
it's a very touchy subject at the moment. when it comes to Spooky Kids, you know, we're a tribute to the artist and the music. And if people still want to hear the music, then we'll happily provide it. You know, we do have bookings coming in. We love Marilyn Manson, the artist. We love his music. And, you know, despite any allegations, you know, we'll still play for the fans. We're fans of the music. And if there's demand, we'll play. It's one of those things. It's such a strange one, isn't it, man? Like,
yeah,
it's the same when it comes to like Michael Jackson tributes, you know. Like the allegations that have been made about Michael Jackson and the tribute to some of the most sought after tribute bands in the world. So
I think it's very different as
who
well.
knows?
Michael Jackson was kind of, I guess, synonymous before he became his own thing, obviously with the Jackson 5, but then obviously with Marilyn Manson, there is always that pre-deceived prejudice because it's a metal genre, I think. And people tend to sort of think of, you know, now it's kind of, I wouldn't say tarnishing everybody in the same light, but it's almost like, look, metal this is what you'll become if you're a metal singer, which obviously isn't the case at all.
Well, it's always been the devil's music, hasn't it? You know, all of that. It's always been associated with the darker side of things. But yeah, it's just a massive shame that, you know, that this kind of stories came out, and you've just got to hope that the allegations are far from the truth. But who knows? Who am I to comment on it? You know, I don't know. Only he knows, and hopefully more truth will come out that's a bit more positive.
Absolutely. So I can't help but notice that gorgeous piece of wood that you are holding between your legs, and I'm not on about his member, I'm on about the gorgeous Les Paul custom. And so tell us more about that absolute beauty.
Okay, so it used to be a PRS Guitars Addiction, didn't it? You remember that?
I do.
And after leaving Death Blooms, I thought, right, I need a new vibe. I've always liked Gibson guitars. I want to get in a different headspace with my writing and stuff like that. So just got rid of the PRS, moved on to Gibson, try and get some inspiration from that. But I like the heavy ones. I like the old ones. I don't know if you can see, but that it's a 1980 Les Paul custom. So back when they used to have a big volute on the back of the neck, and back when they used to be non-weight relieved as well. So it's super heavy. The you probably can't tell, but the neck's quite thin and shreddy, and they're a joy to play, and they sound massive and really hold tuning well. I absolutely love this thing.
It is absolutely beautiful. It's one of the nicest Les Pauls I've seen. It's that natural sort of wear on the pickups as well.
Yeah, it's quite tarnished and worn, but they look better for it. You know, it's been loved.
Have you got that one set up, or any specific strings, or you know?
You know what? I've just got it in drop D at the moment. That's why when I started playing Master of Puppets, it sounded very wrong. Yeah, it's in the one finger power chord heaven. You know. Yeah, just standard 10s on this, 10 to 46 drop D. Just kind of
your drop tunings on you're very synonymous for that drop A, B.
Oh yeah. So that's on my other guitars.
So I was talking to somebody, I don't know if you'll remember him, but Phil Dyer, who plays with Oceanis. And
yeah, of course.
Yes, you do know Phil. So I was chatting to him. Ironically, this is like the fourth time now his name has cropped up in this podcast. He just seems to know everyone. And he was saying, because I know this as well, about I know you don't have it anymore, is the beautiful Mesa Boogie rig that you were running.
Man, I know, it was great, wasn't it? I miss it every day, but I don't miss carrying it.
Was that purely just because it was amps that were being used in the nu metal genre, or was it just something that you really liked about it?
Oh man, like I'll be 100% honest. As soon as I saw those Mesa rectifiers in the 36 Crazy Fist Slit Wrist Theory video when I was a kid, I was like, one day I'm going to get some of those. And then, you know, you see Wes Borland using them back in the day, POD and all that. I was like, I love the sound of that. I'm going to get one. And once I got one, I was like, yeah, this is, you know, Rammstein, of course.
Yeah.
You know, all those guys seem to use them. And as soon as I played through one, that was it, man. And never turned back until I started playing loads of gigs. And having to revalve them all the time was very expensive. You know, I'd have to get them fixed and stuff like that. And I've just moved to Kemper now. But you can't beat the real thing, really.
No. I mean, I'll be honest, I've never played through. I've always wanted to play through a Mesa, but like, you know, realistically, when we're in home situations, it's never always the easiest thing to use, shall we say, and then to properly gun it as well to get the most out of it. It's not so easy.
Oh, the amount of times you get told to turn down with them, and they sound the best when they're cranked. That's just the way it is with valve amps, man. So certain venues, like, you know, when you turn up to Grass Pop, you know, you can turn up as loud as you want, but most places you're a nuisance. So they sound so fizzy quiet. So I just had to find an alternative. Tried Axe Effects. You'll remember when I used to use that, and it was too tweaky for me. I tried Line 6, which I really liked. You know, the Helix. Really liked it. It was great, but there was some tweaking involved. And then once I tried the Kemper, it's plug and play. Like the perfect sounds are there captured. So once I plugged into that, I was like, wow, don't have to do anything to this, you know.
Are you using dual rectifiers on the Kemper as well then?
Yeah. It's funny. I've tried many of the other amps, like the Friedmans that you sent me kindly, you know, sound great, but it's what you're used to, isn't it? And dual rectifiers, always.
Nothing, it's got that very specific sort of like, I wouldn't say it's a mid-range scoop, but it just got that depth that when it hits you, it's just like getting hit by a train.
It sits really nicely in a band mix as well. There's something about it, the brilliance. Riff machines, man.
Are you still using your pedal board along with the Kemper, or have you purely just through the Kemper now? No.
Yeah, just pure Kemper. Yeah, I got the Kemper stage, you know, just the floor version, and that's it. I just use that. It's all I need. Like, got all my patches set up. It's so easy. I miss having, you know, delay pedals and, you know, modulation that you can actually mess around with and get creative with. But especially for the tribute scene, once you've got your set and the sound set for that song, then you don't really want to tweak them. You just want it to sound the same every night. And that was the best way of doing it. The Kempers just sound great.
So with, like, in terms of the aspect then of writing the material, would you literally just say, like, I'm going to pick this patch and I'm just going to jam and see what comes out? Or would you have this preconceived notion that I want to get this sort of vibe, so I'm going to go for this sort of sound? How would you approach that?
It's funny, like for the Death Bloom stuff, which is the latest stuff that I've been writing, it was a dual rectifier patch. I may have sent it to you a while ago, actually.
I think you did.
Had this, it's a dual rectifier patch, funnily enough, profiled from an Axe Effects dual rectifier patch. So it's like a profile of a profile almost, you know. But it sounds great. It's a really good riffy patch, and I've been using that since the very start. I can't remember when Death Bloom started, but from way back then, I just set that patch up, have the guitar in drop A, and that had inspired the riffs, and it'd always be a riff first. Yeah.
And then the rest of the song came after the riff originally.
That's it, man. Yeah, I'd just record a riff into Logic, you know, get the drums set out, record the bass down, and then figure out what's going to go either side of the riff, you know, like intro, verse, whatever.
What's the one riff that you're most proud of that you've done?
That's a tough one. It's a bit of a boring answer saying every single one of them, because each one, each riff that I wrote, there was 100 really shit ones. So when you look at the little Death Bloom's discography on Spotify, there was a lot of shit before that happened. So. But I don't know, like I'd probably say one that I always just jam out on in sound check is "I'm Dead."
I've always liked that one.
Yeah, it's like punk new metal almost, you know, it's like very hardcore new metal.
There's harmonics in it, kind of make it just resonate that little bit more.
Yeah, that's it. Like fun to play, you know, really easy to play, and probably Filth as well. Filth always pops out.
Yeah, that's a good one as well.
Yeah.
I was having a chat with somebody the other day, and we was talking about like kind of strengths and disadvantages and bits and pieces like that as musicians. And I think we always tend to kind of think about, oh, well, I'm quite good at this, I'm quite good at this. But where would you say is an area that you've really struggled with being a guitarist and musician?
So when it comes to guitar playing, probably the one area that I can do is the riffs, but outside of that, you know, I'll sound quite professional playing a chuggy riff with one finger, but when it comes to anything like arpeggios or even just like picking out a chord or, you know, alternate picking and stuff like, especially lead stuff, you know, anything outside the big chunky riff realm is always a bit of a learning curve for me.
And you cannot say that your alternate picking is crap, because I seen you play Battery this morning, and I know for a fact you can do it clean.
Well, when it comes to like riff picking, and but when it, I don't know, like kind of, you know, picking out a chord, like alternate, I can down pick a chord all the way, but if, you know, the up downs and no.
But I guess for the sort of music that you play, you're not going to be playing a nice, you know, G, you know, keep G and C and whatever.
I think that's the one little regret that I do have is growing up learning to play guitar. I learned from, you know, listening to albums from the new metal genre, which, you know, there was hardly any guitar solos going on. It was all riff based and, you know, one finger power chords and all that, you know. Yeah. So that's my strength. But even when it came to playing like the solo for Sweet Dreams, Marilyn Manson, you know, I'd have to literally sit down and learn how to make it sound like a solo rather than just playing the notes together, you know, because solos have so much feel in them. It's not just about the technique, it's also about the feel that you put into them and the right bends. If you're not going to bend it quite right, it's going to sound a little out of tune and crazy. It's another world to me, all that style of playing. And
that's why you tend to stick to the chug
exactly, man. Stick to what I'm good at. But maybe all the new Death Bloom stuff will be a lot more widdly now that I'm not there, you know. Shreddy.
You never know, they're going to hear the next Death Bloom song and there's going to be like 8-string sweeps and
yeah, that's it, man. They're no longer limited by my one finger abilities.
Paul came up with a lot of the riffs with you as well, didn't he? Because he kind of had a bit of a hand in the songwriting processes as well.
On the definitely on the latest album, he really brought it with the writing. I mean, like earlier on, you know, I'd riff and, you know, then we'd come up with some structures together and stuff like that. But I think they're doing an EP rather than an album now or something. But all this new stuff, you know, we really work together, and he'd bring riffs in and I'd make them sound better.
You're allowed to say that. Paul, if you're listening, we're sorry.
No, he really brought it with the riffs. The guy can riff,
So we've spoken about like the really good gig experiences. So obviously playing with like Ray Luzier and Fieldy and Download and Grass Pop. But have you had those moments where it just would not go right for you? And those, do you have any bad moments that stick in your mind?
I think everything before Death Blooms and Corn Again, everything before that was pretty terrible. Like turning up to a gig and playing to the bar staff, there's been more years of that than the years of good gigs, like literally the good gigs have probably happened in the past. Well, it doesn't feel like
5 or 6 years or so.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years. Probably since we met, when because we started gigging with you guys, doing the family values stuff and everything. And that's when it was like, wow, people turn up to these shows. This is amazing. What have I been doing all my life? Playing to
when we did it at the Revolver.
Yeah, man.
It feels like such a long time ago.
Oh man, like I'd play the like it used to be called Barfly in Liverpool. I think it's called Arts Club now. But I'd play there every other week, to literally no one. And for years and years, you just think that was the norm. And luckily that we had some lucky breaks in the past few years with the tribute bands and Death Blooms to be able to play to some actual crowds.
Absolutely. It makes it for quite an interesting topic. So I'm going to be chatting to Paul about this as well. But there are some people that tend to give tribute bands kind of a bad rep because they're essentially it's an easy way to get into. Let's be honest, you can make relatively decent money as tribute bands because there's always going to be that sort of the want for it, because not everybody can go to afford to pay 60 quid for Rammstein or for Korn or what have you. And would you say that tribute bands are necessary to the music scene? What's your obviously relatively unbiased, because we play in tribute bands, but an honest, unfiltered approach to it?
So honest, unfiltered approach. I mean, the first thing I ever did, which is what a lot of people did when they were kids starting to play music, when you're like 13, 14, you start a band with your mates and you play cover songs of your favorite bands. And like back then, we play System of a Down, and all your mates are, that come to your gigs love it because they know what it is. And then you start playing your own songs. It's like, wow, this killed the vibe, So it's a good way to win the crowd over, but it's definitely relevant. And you can't go out there and fake being a tribute band. As you guys know with the Rammstein tribute, it's hard to do. People are going to expect that you bring a show, just like they go to see the real thing. They expect pyros. They expect you to look like them, sound like them. It's a lot of hard work.
I think people think it's like outsider perspectives tend to sort of think, it's how hard can it be just to play XYZ song, whatever. But I think, like you say, a lot of people tend to overlook the little nuances, like especially with Korn Again. When Stephen would play the bagpipes for Shoots and Ladders, it's little things like that do actually make up the big story. And like you say, with pyro or there will always be that level of expectation.
It's a really big scene, and there's a reason for it. You can't go and see Rammstein every day. I only managed to see them. Well, it wasn't last year now, must have been a couple of years ago now. I only managed to see them then, and I've been wanting to see them for years. And the tickets sell out so fast, or some people can't afford to go spend that much, to see the real thing in stadiums.
I spent a small fortune on tickets for Rammstein, man. I spent a small fortune.
Insane. So worth it, but it's insane, isn't it?
It and a half, yeah. If you've never seen, if you're listening and you've never seen them, go and see them. Just obviously it's not so easy at the moment, but It is what it is.
Yeah.
Because
everyone's got to see Rammstein live, even if you're not into metal. It's one of the best shows you'll ever see.
Because your first one was the one in Milton Keynes, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, for the latest album.
How did you find it?
Incredible.
With your expectations?
Oh man, like exceeded. I couldn't believe it. Like the atmosphere that was created in that stadium. You know, it's not just the stage that's the focal point. It's the whole thing, isn't it? Like the whole stadium is the show. That they'll be playing on the main stage, and then they'll pop up on this little rig right at the back, and there's like flamethrowers surrounding you, smoke things, you know. I've never seen anything like it. What a show.
A fun trivia for you. I don't know if you know this story, but I've got their personalized autographs, but I've never actually met them, which was quite a funny story. It was when they were playing Download in 2016, and they were doing a little signing while Korn were playing, and their little signing tent was at the side of the main stage. And me and the missus, we'd actually gotten to the front of the stage. We were front row at Download, which is pretty difficult to do as it is.
Nice. Yeah.
And I was like, I would really like to go to the signing, but I didn't go in the end. And I was like, no, we've got the front row. We're going to stick here.
Yeah, you've got to keep it. If you need to piss, just piss. Like you are staying at the
funny
front.
Story. I actually needed to after having a few beers. And I was like, I really need fucking piss. And I was looking around, and there was somebody in front of like a Pepsi, you know, 2-liter Pepsi bottle, and it was on the front. And I said to the security guard, "Pass me that bottle." So then I did it and threw the lid on it. I was like, whoop, and launched it behind me. Yeah,
you gotta keep that front spot, man.
Yeah. So we stayed there, and obviously we watched the show. And I was staying at my uncle's because he works at East Midlands Airport, so we live quite close. So we were staying at my uncle's, so we didn't have to worry about getting back to Birmingham and whatnot after.
Okay.
And I'd left my Doc Martens at his place because they were caked in mud, and he said, I'll bring them down on the bike the next day. I was like, okay, yeah, sound. And then he gave me, it's framed over there, some autographs. It says to Josh from Rammstein, and all of them have signed it. And he was refueling their plane because they were playing the Pink Pop Festival the next day.
No
and
way.
He refueled their plane. He's an aircraft refueler. And when they were in like this waiting lounge, his mate was kind of looking after them. So like teas, coffees, pastries, and breakfast and all that.
Yeah.
And the guy said, would you mind doing us just one set of autographs for a friend of ours? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. And apparently, this is the guy's words, some big stocky bloke, and it was Till, wanted in return a pack of these Fox's Glacier fruits. He's like, can I take some of these? And the guy was like, you can take the box, take as many as you want. Did these autographs in exchange for some Fox's Glacier fruits.
The guy has a sweet tooth.
Yeah, and that is how I got their autographs. Amazing.
That's brilliant.
It's a weird little story.
I love it. Like, you know, just by chance fueling up that plane. Like,
yeah, it's mad.
Crazy.
So change the subject. A gig that was always interesting for me, and I did touch on it, was when you played with Insane Clown Posse.
Oh yeah.
Because that is not a band that you would put together with metal, essentially.
Yeah.
Was that quite a surreal one?
It was. I mean, Mushroom Head was also on that tour.
Yeah. So
it's one of those things like Mushroom Head kind of made it more relevant to us genre-wise. But, you know, if Insane Clown Posse said, do you want to come on tour? Doesn't matter. Touring with those guys is the most fun you will have. It's a crazy experience. They're a great bunch of guys, and getting to watch their show every night is like next level. Not at all. Absolutely brilliant.
Lots of meth and lots of LSD must have been going around.
There was a lot of stuff going around, especially like once we got to the first venue, because the whole tour got cancelled. You know, the weekend before it was meant to happen. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Like the whole tour got cancelled because the O2 Academy didn't want them spraying cola everywhere, because that's what they do. Throughout the gig, they're spraying liters of cola over the audience, you know, so O2 cancelled them. They managed to rebook the whole tour in different venues in the space of like a day or something. You know, it was crazy. So we were like, tour's off, gutted. Oh, tour's back on, amazing. So we go out with them, get to the first venue in Sheffield, and it was like, oh, none of their gear's turned up yet, so this gig's cancelled. We've rescheduled it for the following week. We'd driven all the way to Sheffield for that. And we were like, oh my God, what a start. The next day was Newcastle and Riverside in Newcastle. We went down there, and first thing we see is all of the crew in the venue just taking the packaging, you know, the sticky labels off all of this roller cola, you know, like all this cheap cola from like Aldi or something, you know, just removing all the labels. And we were like, fucking hell. And it was literally like a whole backstage area was just full of bottles of cola. And that was the way it was the whole tour. Like, good luck having a backstage room because it's just cola. It was amazing.
That was I would have been in there like getting Mentos as well.
Yeah. Oh man, like they invited us on stage at the final gig in Manchester for they call it the Fago Armageddon, and that's when, you know, they throw out as much cola as they can. So we jumped up and spraying cola on everyone. Man, what a great time!
One of the highlights.
Oh man, like big time. Spraying cola on everyone. Highlight number one. Highlight number two was, we played 2 nights at the what's that venue in Birmingham? Is it the Institute or Institution?
Yeah, the Institute, HMV Institute.
Yeah. So we played there like twice in a row because the first night sold out. They thought, right, let's put it on again. So we had a little sticky residency there. It was covered in Coke from the first night, and
it's a good little venue there, to be honest.
Yeah, it's brilliant. We played it a few times, that place. Yeah,
because you played the Vic with Death Blooms and obviously the Flapper as well.
Yeah.
So growing up in Liverpool, I was speaking to somebody else about this the other day. You were saying that, like, obviously your dad had like the Frank Zappa and, you know, bits and pieces like that. Was there anything that when you was a child that like was your very first memory of just hearing music? Because obviously the music scene is very big in Liverpool, so you'd expect things like the Beatles and whatnot to be quite a heavy influence up there.
Yeah, it's funny, like the Beatles, like is always around when you know, it's a big tourist attraction, that band, but it wasn't really big in my world. You know, my parents preferred the Rolling Stones, you know, and it was all, you know, all my earliest music memories is what my mum and dad were playing, which was like Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Frank Zappa, AC/DC. And when it comes to my first gig, that was like Slipknot in 2001 or something, you know.
That's a good first gig to go to. That
I was like, Dad, can you get me tickets? You know, it was meant to be Limp Bizkit on the Chocolate Starfish tour, but I don't know if you remember at the time, but Fred Durst slipped a disc in his back at the Birmingham show.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he slipped a disc, so Manchester got cancelled, the rest of the tour got cancelled. So yeah, then Slipknot announced the Iowa tour, and off I went to that. But
Slipknot's a better first gig than what I went to.
Go on, what was it?
Busted.
No way.
Yep, Busted in Birmingham was my first gig. 2004, 2003, 2004, I think it was.
Nice.
My mum and my stepdad just got married and they were going on their honeymoon, and when they went away, I was given a ticket to go and see Busted on the tour.
Yeah.
And it was literally like the very back row at the LG Arena in Birmingham.
Amazing.
Like you would have needed binoculars to try and see him.
Was it good? Do you have good memories from it?
I can vaguely remember it.
Yeah.
But my first proper memory of a gig was when I first saw Rammstein, because I went completely by myself.
Yeah.
And I remember
What
going
tour?
2010 tour.
Yeah.
2000 when they just bought out Libris Fralada, and then they did that tour.
Right.
So I think it was late 2009, early 2010.
Yeah.
And I remember my uncle was taking me, but he was just like, kind of just go and do your own thing sort of thing, because he was a bit of a drinker. So he kind of just sat at the bar the whole time. He didn't really do anything. So I remember like trying to, like this, I was only like fucking, God knows how tall I wasn't very tall at the time, trying to like just duck and dive and weave in between. And I got about 3 rows from the front. And I remember just getting absolutely crushed to death, but it was worth it.
Was there anyone supporting them? Did they have a good support band?
Combi Christ.
Oh wow, nice.
They were. I really enjoyed them. And then about 6 months later, I actually I won a VIP Combi Christ tour pass thing. So I had a meet and greet and got to see them about 6 months later. Which is pretty cool. I still got some of like drumsticks and signed shirt and the shirt that Joe Letts wore on the stage on that night he gave to me after the show, and it's in
nice. I love it. It's all about those little, those little special things that happen at those shows.
And no, it hasn't been washed.
Yeah. Oh no, I never wash it, man. That Joe Letts aroma.
Yeah.
Have you got tickets to see Rammstein on the, the rescheduled show?
I got 4 tickets.
Awesome. In the fire pit or whatever.
I've got 3 in the fire zone, and I've got 1 seated. I've got the Coventry and the where's the other one? Cardiff. They're both fire zone.
Oh, nice! You're going down to Cardiff.
Yeah. And I've also got Berlin tickets as well.
Badass.
Which is going to be awesome, but I know this year it's already getting postponed. I was talking to their pyro technician about 2 weeks ago, and they said they're just waiting for all the paperwork to be finalized, but it's getting cancelled again.
Oh man, it's such a shame. As long as it gets rescheduled. So I managed to get Fire Zone for Coventry as well. And I was just like, man, like waiting a year already was tough, but then it got postponed another year. I'm just hoping it doesn't get postponed yet another year.
I've still got my tickets in my drawer.
Oh,
yeah, they're in it. I think they're underneath my my little string pack. Let's see if I can find them. 1 second.
Bloody hell.
I've got my 2 but German ones.
Man.
Yeah, Sam Stag 04 July 20 Olympia Stadion Berlin.
Bloody hell.
So that ain't happening.
Fingers crossed it gets rescheduled soon, man. Like,
yeah, I need my concert fix. My last gig was Lindemann.
No way.
In London, the only show they did, and that was one of the weirdest, craziest shows I've ever been to, but it was also fucking brilliant. Like I've never been to a gig where they were launching fish, boxes of rotten fish into the crowd and throwing cakes. Like they one of the songs Alafrasa, which means like omnivore, I think it is. They come out with like this trolley dolly and it's got cakes on it, and they were just launching cakes. So you see my missus, she's quite a short, dainty little thing. So I picked her up like that, and I'm holding her up, hoping that she got absolutely whaled face with a cake. And then like halfway through the gig later on, they did Fish On, and then like this slingshot comes up from like the middle of the stage. And they were just launching fish into the crowd. And then there was some crazy guys like behind me that were just like shirtless and just fucking going nuts. I want to know what they were on.
Yeah.
And
it's probably all the cake.
Yeah, probably it's definitely something.
All that sugar.
They caught one of the fish, and I remember turning around and he just literally bit the head off this fish, this raw rotten fish.
No.
But what was more annoying was the day before. Obviously, I hadn't seen what was going on the tour. Otherwise, I wouldn't have worn my nice brand new Adidas trainers. And I remember sitting on the Travel Lodge hotel floor with some white vinegar and a brush, trying to get all this cake off the suede and the fish guts off it. Those trainers have still got cake on.
If I ever go to see Lindemann, I'm wearing like full overalls, man.
We should explain was before I went into, because they were playing at the O2 in Kensington Town.
Right.
We should explain, like when we got a tour shirt, because I always get a tour shirt no matter what band I go to. They were selling ponchos, and it's like, that makes sense now.
Something's going on. Yeah.
It's not a bad last show to go to, though, to be fair.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't remember what my last show was. Like,
that's Ghost were mine. Ghost was good.
Ghost. I'd love to go and see them.
I hated Ghost a few years back. I absolutely hated them because I just thought it was like fucking Scooby-Doo music.
What changed?
I went to go and see Metallica in Manchester, and Ghost was supporting them. And at first, I was just like, I'm not fussed, but because my aunt had her friend couldn't go, and they had the shortest straw experience one, so we got let in right like 2 hours before everybody else. So we were front row for Metallica. And you could see me like 3 times on the film footage that they did of it. And then Ghost was supporting them. And so I was like, okay, let's see what they're like. And they blew me away live. They were absolutely phenomenal. And then when they did their own tour, I got tickets straight away, front row. And I got one of their guitar picks and bits and pieces like that. And I was hooked after that.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'd love to check them out. I've heard great things. I really like them as a band, you know.
They out-supported Metallica that night.
Yeah.
Absolutely outplayed them by a long shot.
I bet all the theatrics and everything, you know, because it's quite a stage show as well, I believe. So
it's quite interesting, obviously, because they're all obviously got the ghoul masks on and stuff like that. And Tobias Forge, the one who obviously plays like Cardinal Copia, I've never seen somebody control a crowd so well like he did. I've never seen that good level of crowd control. It was insane. Really insane.
Oh, man. Like, as soon as gigs are happening again, they're on my list.
I'm going to be at the point now, it's been that long since gigs. Any time that there's going to be a band now in Birmingham or whatever, I'm getting tickets regardless. I just need the
that's it. You know what? That's the plus side, you know. Like, when things do happen again, I feel like people are going to be rushing out, you know. Like, as music fans, you know, you want to see some gigs. I'll be, you know, local gigs, you name it. I mean, I used to go to all the gigs anyway, but I'm never turning one down after this. Like.
Yeah. So I think I need to get the Trivium tickets, because I think Trivium are meant to play in the back end of this year, and Skindred's. Those would be a couple of good shows to go to.
Brilliant. Yeah. I love a Skindred show.
So we're doing a right time. So we are going to kind of start to wrap this up a little bit. So on the podcast, I have a segment where I ask everybody the same 3 questions. So it's always interesting to see what different answers that we get. So the first one is, you're on a desert island. Money is no object. You can take 1 pedal, 1 amp, and 1 guitar. What are you taking with you?
So I'd take the Kemper. I'd take a dual rectifier, because
you're using the Kemper as your effects unit.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I've got options then. And I'd take this Les Paul with me, this chunky beast.
Not your new Apex 7.
Man, that Apex 7 has troubles.
Really?
I've got some bad news about that. Yeah.
Oh, what's happened?
Yeah. So I bought it from is that how you say it? Toman. Yeah, I got it from Toman.
I got my RZK from there.
Well, you know, they're a very good company. It's not a reflection on them, I'm sure. But it was a B stock one, and it arrived, looked great, and all that. Started putting some heavier strings on there, you know. I'm like, and I go to adjust the truss rod, and the truss rod nut inside is completely threaded. So you put the Allen key in, and it just spins.
Oh, geez.
And there's such a back bow in the neck that the strings are touching the frets. So it's just like, you know, buzzing. Yeah, so...
Oh, Christ.
I know, so I'm currently in talks with Tom and like...
Hopefully they'll sort it out.
So I'm sure they will. It's just a long process. It's always a shame when a guitar doesn't turn out how you hoped.
I was going to say, this question isn't in the segment, but I know...
Oh, yeah.
So this one's going to be specially for you. But
Go
what
ahead.
is the guitar that got away? The one that you never wish you got rid of?
So it was actually a Les Paul custom, but it was a 1976. And the specs were very similar to this one, you know, the big volute, solid body, but it was almost 12 pounds in weight. It was super heavy, like proper backbreaker, but sounded great, played great, like just everything about it looked really cool, like quite worn in. It was an absolute beast. And at the time, I just got a 57 reissue custom as well. And I was like, well, I can't justify keeping both. So I'll put them both on eBay, and whichever sells first, that's what's gone. And I was really hoping the 57 would go, you know. So you can always buy another 57 reissue and it'll be the same. Yeah. But you can't get that original 76 again. So I've been on a mission ever since, you know, like if a 76 pops up, I'll be getting that and selling this one.
I can't say I blame you. I would love a really nice gold top.
Oh, yes.
A nice gold top Les Paul is what I would really like to get next.
Oh, the killer.
Or a lemon burst, an old aged relic lemon burst.
Ooh, yeah.
But that's big bucks.
Yeah, big time.
I know. I just shelled out 1,500 quid for the quad cortex. It's going to be even more saving up now.
Is that arrived yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm because I bought mine in January. I put my money down. I've got to wait for tier 1 and tier 2 to go out. Then I'm getting mine, and I can't wait for it. First thing I'm going to do is make a quad rig of like Forge or rectifiers and just sit there and just be like,
heaven.
Yeah, man.
Amazing.
I
can't wait to check out what you do with that thing.
Oh, mate, trust me, I have got big plans for that. Big plans. So the second question, because we've kind of gone off topic again a little bit. Second question is, what are you listening to on Spotify or your preferred streaming service? What are you listening to at the moment?
So I'm a bit of a weirdo. I use Amazon Music instead of Spotify. So at the moment, I'm non-stop listening to the new Love and Death album. It's the guitarist of Korn, Head. It's his other band. The latest album's incredible. They've got a Justin Bieber cover on there, and it's one of the best metal covers.
I've heard about that. Because I saw someone was talking about it in the week on Facebook, and they were saying about this Justin Bieber metal cover, and people have been saying it's actually quite good.
It's brilliant. Like, you start off listening to it and you don't realize it's a Bieber song until it gets to the chorus, and then you're like, I've heard this before. Oh my God, it's Justin Bieber. But it's great. Like, such a good album. Every song's a banger, and it sounds great too. Like, it's produced so well.
I'm going to need to check that out. Absolutely going to need to check that out. And last of all, where can people find out more about you on social media?
So I'm a bit quiet on it at the moment because of lockdown and all that. But if you go to Instagram, it's The First Sinner. Check out that for guitar videos for now. And then hopefully when gigs start off again, it'll be live videos and more cool stuff, travel pics and all that, you know.
Awesome stuff, man. Awesome. So if you're listening, you make sure that you go and check out the YouTube video, because you will see both of our faces. You'll see the hunk that is Adam and his gorgeous piece of wood, and all the links will be in the description box below. Ad, thank you so much for taking out this time with me on a Sunday evening. It's been an absolute delight.
Great chatting to you, man. I could have chatted to you all night.
I think we could have easily gone on for another few hours. There's still so much we could have spoke about, but I know we always have time constraints and bits and pieces.
We'll
like
do
that.
round 2 when stuff gets back to normal. Round 2.
Absolutely, man. I would love to have you back on here. It would be an absolute pleasure. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Guitar Geeks. If you've been watching this on YouTube, make sure you go and check out the Spotify link, drop it a follow, drop it a share, drop it a like. Check out all of Ad's links in the description box below. You'll be able to get him on Instagram, and as well as some of the Death Blooms material on Spotify as well. So until the next time, thank you ever so much for tuning in. Thank you again, Ad, for being here.
Cheers, man.
Until the next time, we'll see you on the Guitar Geeks podcast.
Born again, kill it. I'm so blown away. Had me smiling and just out of my skin. Like you guys are insane rock stars, man. We're honored to be on stage right now. Let's rock out a song real quick.